Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am just sitting in my family room right now in the armchair here. I have a couple things with me. I have my cup with a little bit of emergency in it. I have my lip product here in case I have to reapply, which is the Revlon like Shine lipstick. I guess I put on my purple one. I'm colorblind, guys. I thought I was putting on my brown one. This is glistening purple. So it's purple, whatever. So I have that, and I have some paper towel in case I get emotional, because we all know I'm an emotional person. Although I am now on, like, in the last, I guess I'm 2.5 weeks in, on an antidepressant, Wellbutrin, to help with life right now, and that does seem to have helped me quite a bit, so thank goodness for that. This is my video that I told you guys I would do. On my Instagram, I had made a post about you could ask me any question you want. I'm a pretty open book person, literally, in life. Like, I don't care. Let me get a sip. And so then I closed the questions this morning. It is Thursday. What is that? November 5th? No, 4th. Today's the 4th. The reason I know that is because Hayden Rose restock is the 5th, and that's tomorrow. Anyways, I went through. No one DM'd me any questions. They are all from that under that post. So I kind of made, like, I got a piece of paper and folded it in half, kind of made it like a little booklet. These are all questions, and these are all questions. You can see that some of them have bullet points underneath because some questions were multiple part. I did not write down names of the people that asked the questions, and some of them are a little bit paraphrased because they were long, and so I hope I got the, like, vibe of what you were trying to ask me in the question. I wrote every single one down. I didn't fish through them. I didn't change any of them, so they are like, not exactly, because I just said I paraphrased them a little bit. But this is all of the ones that were there before. Oh, my hair is pulling behind my back. Before I shut down the questions. So you can see. Okay. I even curled my hair. I was going to wash it, but instead of that, I just put a ton of dry shampoo in it and curled it. So that was my answer to that. Okay, so also, I did not go through and put them into, like, question categories. I have a ton of questions here about wax, obviously. And then I have questions about my career. I have a lot of questions about my family, and they're not in categories. They're just all over. So it's going to be all over. So I will just start off with part of why I am such an open book person is, first of all, like, I'm an extrovert to a fault. Like, I can't help it. I try to not be, but it's just who I am. I am an extrovert that has to recharge very introvertedly, if that's even a word. After I wear myself down all day being this extrovert, I have to go home and I don't want anyone to talk to me, touch me, anything. I get, like, very overstimulated once it's time to relax, and I just want that to be what it is. But I've also been through a lot of things in my life, a lot. I mean, literally multiple books couldn't cover it. And I personally feel like being super transparent, being very vulnerable, talking about it all has helped me. And I feel like part of my problem as a younger adult, or even as a, like, later teenager, is I kind of thought that, like, our family and me were the only ones that went through, like, what we did. And I mean, specifically, yes, that's true. But in general, as an adult, as I've grown, I realize, like, everybody literally has their plate, their issues. And even if they don't mirror yours, they can be very similar, and the struggle can be at the same level. So even though, like, my plate can be full, or my friend's plate can be full, our plates can be different sizes, different colors, if that makes sense. So anyways, I like to share and I like to talk because I feel like human experiences aren't something to be embarrassed about. They can be hurtful for sure. They can be things that maybe we don't want to talk about because we don't know how to express them yet. But I feel like I love to talk about like true raw human experiences because humans are so much more complex, diverse, faceted, everything than I think some of us want to admit. Anyways, I'll get into that as we go here, but yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. I think it's cool to admit that you are different, more complex, or okay with being different. I don't know. So anyway, okay, so the first question here is all-time favorite wax for relaxation. This is one that I did. So most of these answers are going to be completely verbatim, but I didn't want to freeze in front of the camera, so I did write down my top 3 for relaxation here. My very first one I've talked about a lot that is just like sereneness in a wax melt is Hayden Rose Sea Salt, just the plain sea salt. Very strong, very long lasting, absolutely like almost aquatic, but fresh, very serene. It's amazing. Kay's Scented Melt Unwind. It's like a mint, kind of almost like essential oily mint, citrus kind of situation. I made a blend, like a custom blend with Unwind with peppermint, and it was amazing. And then Rose Girl's Dr. Mario. I'm so excited because I ordered a half pie of it in her Mario pre-order. I wanted to get more, but I was like, Danny, she will have another Mario pre-order. Just get one half pie, you'll be fine. But her Dr. Mario has like that kind of sinus blaster oil in it with lavender chamomile, and it's amazing. So those are my top 3 for relaxation. I definitely have more, but those are my top 3. The next question is, how did you and your husband meet? It's not really like the craziest story. What's kind of funny is this house that I live in now is actually my cousin's house. I live here with my family now, but I lived in this house when it looked very different, with my cousin when I went to respiratory school. I'm a respiratory therapist. At the time, I was a CNA, and I lived with her and her 2 young boys that are now in college and getting engaged and things. And me and my husband actually had some of our first dates in this house. So it's kind of funny. But kind of the gist of it is out here in Utah, like down the main street, there is something called Job Corps. It's like I think it's a government program. I never knew what it was till I moved out here. My husband went to Job Corps, not because, you might know different things about what Job Corps is, the program of Job Corps. He did not go because he was like a troubled kid or anything like that. He mostly went just to be able to afford an education. And so he grew up in West Philadelphia, but he went to the first part of his Job Corps schooling in Kentucky, and then went from Kentucky and he did auto body programs. And the second, like the advanced part of the auto body program was out here in Clearfield, Utah. That's a city across the way here from us. And that same Job Corps had a CNA, which is a certified nursing assistant, in case you don't know, program as well. And at the time, I was a CNA at a SNF, a skilled nursing facility, and that program used our SNF as one of their locations to do their clinicals. So, I've kind of made, like, paraphrase this to other people, but one of the people that became a CNA from that program was a guy. Him and I actually dated for a while. Things didn't go very well, but him and my husband were friends. My husband at the time was dating someone else, and we all hung out in a group, from time to time, so we knew each other, we'd seen each other, but we didn't date at the time. I was dating someone else. Things didn't go very well with that guy. We broke up. Like a month or so later, my husband and his girlfriend broke up for very different reasons. And then him and I went on a date. We kind of sparked things and we dated a lot. We actually dated for 4 years before we got married. And that was kind of that. So neither of us are from Utah. My husband, like I said, many generations of his family are grew up actually very close, in West Philadelphia. And my family it's a very long story, but we moved quite a bit. But I just say mostly California and Arizona. And basically consider Arizona my home because that's like where I went to high school. And I love Arizona parts of Arizona so much. I love Tucson, Arizona. Oro Valley is where I did most of my growing up, but I guess half. The other half, I lived in the East Bay area in California in a city called Antioch. And then we also lived in Southern California, Rowland Heights, we moved around that area a lot, but the Los Angeles area, basically, I've lived in Whittier quite a bit. So anyways, I've moved a lot, but that's kind of the gist of where I lived. I lived in Minnesota for a hot minute, but anyways, we now live here in Utah. All of our kids, we were married in Utah. All of our kids have been born here in Utah. I still will never say I'm a Utahn. It just will never feel like my home, but I'm happy to be where we're at right now. So that was a long answer, but there you go. The next question is, what made you want to become an RT? So while I was a CNA in that skilled nursing facility, there's so many different types of nurses, by the way. The pandemic has kind of brought that up a lot when people are like, oh, my nurse friend said this, my nurse friend said this. There's a lot of different types of nurses. Skilled nursing facility nurses, there used to be a lot more skilled nursing facilities. Now there's a lot more LTACs, long-term acute cares, and different levels of care than there were back when I was a CNA. But part of why I didn't become like a nurse is because I did not like a lot of the nurses that I worked with. At skilled nursing facilities, the nurses are responsible for a ton of patients. Like night shift, they'd be in charge of 40 patients, and during the day, like 20 to 25. And this is not like the facility's fault. This is like a federal ratio, and this is what it's been for a long time, that reimbursement comes in. So, when there's not enough staff at certain facilities, it's not necessarily that facility's fault. It's literally how much they can afford to have due to federal reimbursement, which every medical facility gets, and that's how medical facilities stay open, just so you know. So the nurses, basically all they have time for is passing meds, making sure the patients take them, and doing wound care sometimes, but sometimes there's a wound care team, and charting. The rest of it, for the most part, is done in the SNFs, at least, by the CNAs. A lot of, the heavy lifting, the work, and all that. So because it's such heavy loads, a lot of the nurses have been there for years and just get really burned out. But it is kind of hard to go from many years of working in a skilled nursing facility to go to working in acute care, like a hospital, because the skills are very, very different. So a lot of these skilled nursing facility nurses are just kind of like old and crabby and hard to work with. I'm not saying all of them in case you're one of them. I'm just saying specifically where I worked. And I didn't want to be one of them. So my cousin that I lived with here at this house was a nurse. She's an awesome nurse. We were sitting here one day. I actually got called off a shift, and she sat here, and we were looking in the phone book back when there were phone books to look in. And we saw that there was a respiratory therapy program. I didn't know what a respiratory therapist was. She did loosely know what one was, and it said that it was accredited. And she's like, oh, why don't you become an RT? And I quickly had to Google it and see what it was. And I was like, oh, okay, I know I don't want to be a nurse, but seems pretty similar level, but different, which is true. Respiratory therapists, I'm a registered respiratory therapist, have the same, sometimes even more schooling than an RN. Back when I passed in 2008, we had 3 state boards, or federal boards actually, for respiratory that we had to pass. Now it's 2. They've changed it a little bit. But we have bachelors, we go to school for 4 years. It's the same schooling as a nurse, but it's more acute care of a patient than nursing. Love my nurses, but we do have very different set of knowledge skill sets. Gosh, not that I'm showing mine right now. It is very different. Respiratory therapists are mostly in acute care, although there are some in home care also with oxygen and CPAPs for sleep apnea. They're also in LTACs for trach patients, long-term vent patients, all that kind of stuff. But most of us work in acute care. So I'm still glad I became an RT. During this pandemic, it's been very, very hard. You might not see an RT as much as you see a nurse or a doctor. Well, not that many people see doctors, but and you certainly don't hear about us as much. Like in my sized hospital, we have 3 to 4 RTs for the entire hospital, and there are hundreds of nurses on that same shift. So, anyways, very different. But I literally, what made me want to become an RT is because I didn't want to be a nurse. That's kind of a weird answer, but that's the truth. And I'm glad that I am one. RTs go to every single code. So if you know, like if you've been in a hospital, every single code blue, like anytime someone's respiratory arrested, cardiac arrested, anytime life support is involved, you know, CPR, ACLS, basic life support, anytime that is involved, we are there. We're part of the code team. So we know how to keep someone alive, and I'm very thankful for that. So there's that. I hope that answered that question. The next one is a multiple part question. This is, what is your goal in this life? That's so hard because I feel like almost every day the answer to that could be different. You know, a lot of people might say to be happy. I don't know. It'll make me cry. At different times in my life, many times in my life, my goal was just to survive. At different times in my life, the goal would have been to be able to, feel like a valid human, to love myself, to feel like I was capable of being loved. See, this is why I brought tissue. I think at this point today, my goal in this life is to make sure my children don't question that they are valid human beings that are loved. I know that those are things that I want. Obviously, I want my kids to be, efficient, good human adults in this society that, give to society, are good, kind human beings, but you can't be those things. I guess you can, because I've struggled with it my whole life. I don't know, but if you don't know that you're loved, lovable, or valid. So I hope that for my children very much. The next part of that question is, can you forgive? This is also hard for me. I am a very headstrong person. Not that this always matters, but I do like to throw it out. I am a Taurus sun sign, an Aries moon sign, and a Sagittarius ascending. I'm an earth, fire. Most days I feel like my fire signs take over. But I think when I talk about forgiveness, I think it's almost like I can be two different people. And I think it depends on the situation. I base my opinions and my feelings so much on intent and intention. So I'll use my mother as an example. It's hard to even call her mother. I haven't seen her in, I don't even know how many years. Well over a decade and a half. She has borderline personality disorder and is not treated whatsoever. She's an awful human being. So awful. That's a story for another day. I have a bunch of siblings. There's 6 of us that all went through this together. Some of the siblings, well, I think most, have been able to forgive her. I have not. I don't know if I'll ever be able to attain that in this lifetime. And I know, religious people will get on here and say, forgiveness is for yourself, but you never forget, blah, 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 blah. That's just not how I work. I will never be able to forgive her. But other people, but because her intentions are awful. Does that make sense? And they continue to be awful. I can forgive a lot in most circumstances, especially if the intention that something was done in was not for malice or for negativity or hurt. And even in certain situations when those are the case, I can understand that some of it is situational, and that in a different situation that person might have not acted that way. I'm always willing to talk through with someone like what happened. I wouldn't say that I'm confrontational, but I like to actively solve things. I like to, like, if I hear someone saying something about me, I want to say, hey, I heard you were saying this, let's talk about it. And I want them to also know that my intentions aren't bad. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So can you forgive? That's a very complex question. I can in situations and based on intent. And also forgiving myself is hard also. So very complex. So next part of that question is, do you believe in God, the universe, anything? That's difficult. This is going to be such a long video. I'm like third question in. I was raised, not in Utah, but I was raised from birth Mormon. I don't know if that, I'm in Utah now, but not because I'm Mormon. I stopped going to church when I was about 15. There was a couple different times past that I did go back to church. When I was 19, I was pregnant and placed a baby for adoption, my daughter Kylie. And I kind of went back to church at that time. But I do not consider myself religious at all anymore. I wouldn't say I do believe in God. Definitely a higher power of some sort. I think the older I get, I definitely feel like there is, there are natural powers, the earth, the universe. I believe in that a lot. But I also, what we teach our children is just the golden rule. That's kind of like the religion in this house is the golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. And I'm serious. Like every time one of their hearts get broken by each other or a friend or whatever, I literally apply that situation to that statement and we try to talk it out together. Like, you did this to this person did this to you. How do you make sure then you treat that the next time? That kind of a thing. So I don't know. I hope that answered that question. I am definitely not religious. I personally feel like historically a lot of religions have not been the most positive thing for this world, but anyway, another part of this is 2 favorite wax melts of all time. That is so hard. So hard. I was actually going to try to write this down, but I don't know, because I know that I've said in the past, like, oh, this is my favorite scent of all time, and that was true for that moment. Ugh, what are some of them, you guys? I love Rose Girl's Morning Sex oil. Love that oil. I love Hayden Rose Sea Salt so much. I love, you guys know, like anything mint. I don't know. That's really hard. Like, I have so much wax. It's hard to say what my favorite is. I'm trying to think. Like, there's so much history of wax in my head. And sorry if you hear jets. Once again, I live by an Air Force base, so there's always jets flying all over our house. Anyways, and then ask a question back. So I guess my question back to you is, what is your goal in this life? If any of you want to answer that down below, that would be great. Once again, it's a very complex question. Okay, moving on to the next question. It says, you mentioned you've lost quite a bit of weight over a period of time. What did you do, and what are your best tips for a healthier lifestyle? So my family, we are really tall, big people. I'm 5'11". I wear a 12.5 women's size shoe. I wear, even since weight loss, I wear like a 34G in a bra. I have very broad shoulders. I'm one of the strongest females I've ever met at the gym. Like, when I worked out lifted for like 3 months, I never saw a woman lift more weight than me. We're just big people. I know that, like, you shouldn't use that as an excuse, because if you watch your calories right and your nutrition right, like, really, truly, no one should be obese, but different body types do struggle with different things, because I have definitely had friends that struggle to put weight on. But so my family were built very muscularly, but also able to carry fat. And I believe that's called the endomorph type. And I truly believe in body types. And I know like not people say like people aren't necessarily big boned, but like I have very big wrists, very big ankles, feet, like not, and I don't even have like cankles, just sorry, that's my foot. Like normal anklets don't fit on me, normal bracelets don't fit on me. I'm just using this to tell you that my whole life I have had weight issues. I hit 5'11" right around the age of 12. I started having a double D chest when I was 11. I've always had issues with weight, so it's been an issue my whole life. I've had eating disorders at younger times in my life. And so after I had all my kids, I've talked to you guys before, I had 4 kids in 3 years. My oldest, when I gave birth to my youngest kids, which were my twins, I brought my twin infants home to a 3-year-old, a 15-month-old, and them. And post that, because of working full-time night shift, trying to raise 2 infants, my oldest going through figuring out her autism and all that, no family here in Utah. I was burning the candle at all the ends that it possibly had, and I ended up going into like a thyroid failure, an adrenal failure, and I gained 60 pounds in 4 months, and that was not eating very much. My TSH was so high, I could barely move. Like pushing the cart at the grocery store felt like I was pushing 300 pounds across the gym floor. It was unreal. And so part of this healthier lifestyle, keto, that I do a lot, I don't just do keto, like the trendy thing. Before I started at all, actually one of my stepsisters told me about it. I had never heard of it. This was way before the trend of keto. I was like, this sounds really weird, like high fat, lower protein, really low carbs. I'm going to read about it first. I read like 10 books about it. I compared and contrasted facts and studies and all these things, and it came down to it helps repair and fix metabolic issues, and then in the long run it really just helps you learn how to eat whole foods, and that could be a very long video, and so I started it long time ago. When I first started keto, I would eat all keto foods and try to keep under a certain amount of carbs, under 20 carbs. Now it's more like 30-ish carbs. I have definitely whittled it down now to what I know actually works for me. And now I do keto with a caloric deficit. But how do I say this? So for many years, because my twins are 7.5, I would just eat keto foods and stay under a certain amount of carbs, but I didn't lose a ton of weight. I feel like during that time, I was fixing my metabolic state, but not losing a lot of weight because I was not watching my calories. I didn't gain weight, but I didn't lose much weight. I started off 320 pounds. A lot of people, I was definitely big, and definitely my BMI was way too high. But no one really looked at me and was like, wow, she's huge. Like, no, I have a very large frame. Gosh, I could just talk about this forever. But when COVID first hit, in the first wave specifically, before there were vaccines, before the Delta variant came, a lot of what we saw, high risk for people dying of COVID and getting very sick with COVID, were metabolic issues, were diabetes, high A1Cs, heart disease, obesity-related issues. I was terrified of that. And even though I knew that I was eating a lot better, like nutrition-wise and blood sugar-wise, metabolically, I was eating much better, I needed to get this weight off because, how do I say this without offending anyone? Bigger bodies can be healthy. Like, I am a bigger body type for sure. I will never not be. But an obese body type, and look up what that truly means weight-wise, is not healthy. It's never going to be healthy. Even if currently right now you go get your labs taken and they look okay, long term, it will never be healthy to be obese. And I knew that in my head. And so I said, okay, we've got to make this work. Now, doing 15 to 20 to 25,000 steps a shift helped quite a bit, but I also fell in love with weightlifting. Part of being metabolically healthy is not just losing weight, it's making sure that your ratio of muscle to body fat is good also. Fat is not a metabolic tissue, muscle is. And so I knew that even though I'm a big person, I have a much lower body fat percentage versus how much muscle I have on me. So what is working for me to keep me healthier is my muscle versus my fat. Does that make sense? So even if you are a bigger person and you're not interested in losing weight, that's fine. Going to do resistant workouts though is going to improve your health so much. Part of why a lot of people have more metabolic issues and more health issues as they get older is because their muscle mass reduces. And so actively keeping that higher keeps you so much healthier. So there's so many issues with this, but metabolic syndromes are so complex and so crazy. I'm still baffled by so many of them. But period, as far as like healthier lifestyle, like I said, honestly, whole foods, things, eating, foods as they come, not changing them much from what they were, how they were alive to them then being in your body. And the period of time. So basically I talk about my weight loss, as far as from that 320 pound start was really a couple months before COVID, so probably end of 2009. I'll just say maybe August to September of 2019. Till now, it has been so up and down, you guys. And part of it is from listening to my body. Your body also does need some carbs. So I truly believe in carb cycling also. Your body does need certain nutrients from higher carb vegetables and fruits, and I truly believe that. So from 2019 till now, I've had definite chunks of time where I have not been keto, but part of it, this last little one was not, but part of it has been intentional, where my body literally tells me, and I just know it is time. Your body needs these nutrients from this squash. Your body needs these nutrients from this apple. Your body needs this nutrients from this watermelon or whatever. That has helped a lot with, hair loss from keto. It's helped me not lose the weight too fast either. I haven't ever wanted that. I wanted to literally change who I am as a human being and what I eat and what I know as health, that I was not taught as a kid, and to overcome metabolic issues and like eating disorders like I had when I was a younger kid. Does that make sense? So I currently, once again, I'm 5'11", and very broad shoulders, big feet, all the things. I'm currently about 230-ish. Some days I'm 227. Some days I'm 232. I feel like I have kind of hit this plateau kind of situation, but also, I've had some pretty severe depression recently, that just chemically in your body can plateau you. So chemically, your body has to be able to lose weight also. So I'll just say that. So anyway, okay, I have to move on. We're already 34 minutes in. Top 3 vendors and why. This is very hard because I have way more than top 3. I have these, because the next question is, what are your top 10 vendors? So I'm just going to tell you my top 10. This is not in any specific order. L3, Teddy Bees, K, The Pharmacist's Daughter, Rose Girls, Vintage Chic Scents, The Smell Good Shop, Hayden Road, Destination Wax, and Zape and The Bathing Garden, kind of, for different reasons. So those, I think, are my top. Let's see. And then someone just said more about the kiddos. I'll kind of get into that in a little bit later question. Top 10 vendors. How many warmers do you have in your house? Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. I had 13, but one broke. So yeah, 12 right now. What's the best advice you've ever been given? A lot. I think I seek out a lot of people that have been through lots of things. Just naturally in life, I'm drawn to them because I need as much wisdom as I can get. But I've intermittently been in counseling for many different reasons. But, and you guys probably already know this, but I've had to like learn so many coping mechanisms that I was not given as a human that I'm learning. And I'm not going to say this in the right way. I was told this by a counselor 16, 15 something years ago, but they use an analogy of healing from trauma like an onion, and an onion where the layers basically never end. So I think as a child, like when my mom finally left and I went wild and did so many things, I just thought when she's gone, it'll be better. When I went wild and I was doing all the things I was doing, I just thought, okay, when I separate from these people, when I stop doing these drugs, when I lose this weight or whatever the situation was, life will get better. Then, take that later. When the kids aren't infants anymore, it will get better. When I don't have to work night shift anymore, it will get better. When it'll get better. It was always like, this sucks right now, but it'll get better. And I still deal with that. And I still have to tell myself to be present and to be happy with what it is right now. Because I also really kind of suffer from like, it just slipped out of my mind. But looking back on those days and being like, oh, that was so amazing. I miss it so much. It sucks now. So I need to stop, I realize that that's a problem and try to be in the here and now. But anyway, healing from trauma is like an onion. So what it means is you have a lot of trauma. You try to heal from it. You do your counseling, medications if you need to. You take active steps in your daily life to literally make different decisions. Like you get to a decision and your brain feels shock and fear and defense, and you tell yourself not to react that way and all these different things. And you feel like, okay, I can do that now. Like I've overcome that. I've gotten better. And then you say like, my mother finds my phone number or something randomly and leaves me a text message, and I see it, even though I have whatever number I thought she had blocked. So many traumatic things well up inside me. My heart races. I automatically start crying. I like days and days and days of just this intense, like, oh, I hate her. Like, and all the trauma comes back. And then you have to work through that again. And it's this layer after layer. And it's not just the relationship between me and her. That trauma was literally the foundation of my life because it was from day one. So it is how I talk to my husband. It is how I talk to my coworkers, how I treat them, how I treat my children, how I react to them, like literally everything, how I speak to myself. Every one of those things sits along each layer of the onion. And I have absolutely been successful in overcoming many layers of that onion, but I have so many layers to go through, and I know that for the rest of my life, I will be trying to eventually get to the heart of that onion. And it'll be forever. And you have to take the triumphs that you have completed for yourself, but also know that road, there's no completion. It's a continual thing. Yeah. And then something that you hear it, but also something that I've had to do as an adult is call myself out. Like when I've done something wrong, I have to say, I did that, and this is how I'll not do it next time. So like I was raised like with my mother, everything was like put under the rug, and everything was everyone else's fault but hers. And so from being a child, I've tried so hard to be, I just am a literal person. I'm a realist to a fault. And part of that is because of the irrationality and like fog of lies that we lived under. And so because of that being my personality, I also have to call myself out. Like it's something I must do, I have to do. And so I think calling yourself out, and like I do it publicly, but also just to yourself, and saying, don't do that again. I hope that made sense. Okay, next page. If you could only buy from one vendor, who would it be? That is also very hard because I buy from different vendors for many different reasons. But I will say the most wax I have is from L3. And I say that because she offers such large restocks so often. You can almost always buy something off her website. So many different types of scents. But I also have holes with L3. I don't enjoy her lavender scents. She doesn't have as many like refined scents like Hayden Rowe, where Christina works really hard on making these very, very like high-end scents. Does that make sense? Like I would say L3, but I would still have holes that I would miss from other vendors. What's a scent you can never be tired of, solo or blend? Mint. Definitely mint. And definitely stainless steel. Blend. So far I'm not sick of October 3rd. Today is October 3rd. I love that one to death. But definitely mints and anything with stainless steel in it. And Bath and Body Works black tie. I still, every time I smell that candle, that oil, that wallflower, my mouth waters. What is a scent you were surprised you liked as much as you did? Ooh. I know I've said this before in different videos, but it's hard to reflect now. Oh, I guess, so, and this will kind of blend into other questions here, but I, in general, prior to getting into wax and this, whatever, I was a huge perfume collector, addict, whatever. And I very much disliked patchouli. There are many different types of patchouli. But coming into the wax world and smelling it in my house versus on my body, there are definitely different types of patchoulis that I can accept now and like, and that has in turn helped me become more open-minded and actually enjoy some patchoulis in perfumes. So, next one is favorite hobbies, movies, books. Hobbies, I mean, I don't have a lot of time in my life for hobbies, but obviously wax and home fragrance, gym, weightlifting, and makeup. Movies, I'm not the biggest movie buff, but I really love the Father of the Bride movies. I really love any Tyler Perry movie. I love Medea so much. I mean, really. Oh, I do like Avenger movies. I don't know much about the history and stuff, but Iron Man in most, because he doesn't have a superpower. He is just insanely smart, and people that are like, I don't want to say unnaturally, but just crazy smart just blow my mind, and I admire them so much. So I love Iron Man. It says to get into my gym routine, grocery store haul, manage work-life balance, and how to unwind. That's a whole thing, and I'm already 43 minutes in. I don't balance my life very well, or I don't feel like I do. I burn out a lot. I melt down at least once a month. My husband is very good at helping and balancing that. He can tell when I'm just burned out, and for the most part, he can. This COVID has kind of thrown a different wrench in that. I also, I put so much effort into life, into work and stuff, that I also demand it from others. If that makes sense. How to unwind. I don't do a lot of that. I love to take showers. I feel like a new human after a shower with my hair washed, exfoliated, all that stuff. I do love swimming. That helps quite a bit. But yeah, I am not the person to ask about work-life balance. I'll work until I'm completely burned out, and then I die for a while and then go back to doing the same thing. So I'm not very good at it. Gym routine. I haven't been going to the gym for the last 2 months or so because work's been so busy. But in general, like when I'm doing my routine, how I want it to be, at least 3 times a week, but usually 4, I do like half an hour to 45 minutes of cardio. And usually I like steady state on the treadmill. I will do anywhere between 10 to 15 incline on the treadmill for anywhere between the speeds of like 3.5 to 4.5. Anywhere to keep my heart rate around 160, I guess. And then I will follow that with at least an hour of weightlifting, kind of like what my body feels like wants to be moved that day. But I do a lot of leg stuff. So anyways, that could be a whole nother video. Have you always been into home fragrance? When did you first get into wax melts, and why did you get into wax melts? I've always loved fragrance. Always. As a kid, I just was so, I grew up in mostly Arizona and California. I loved the smell of like swimming pools and chlorine, and I always loved the smell of mint, everything mint. Where I grew up, the colognes like Aquadigio was very, very popular. Cool Water, you guys can probably tell in which eras I grew up in, but Cool Water, Tommy Girl, those Clinique Happy, those were very, very popular scents at the time, and I loved them. And those were not things that I was able to buy or have, and I just coveted them so much. And so when I was an adult, I wanted to kind of find out why those things smelled so good to my nose. And so I delved deep into, perfume, and have a big perfume collection. But then I kind of got, I always liked Bath and Body Works. The candles and home fragrance from Bath and Body Works were never huge for me. It was more the body care stuff when I was younger. Then now that I've gotten older, it's more of the home care stuff. I did sell Scentsy a long time ago, so I was kind of into the home fragrance stuff then. I liked the wax from like Walmart for quite a while. I don't know, it's just kind of, I've always liked scent my entire life. So, scents are, in humans in general, but for me are like the most memory triggering, the most happy things that I remember. So, and then I can't remember how I got into vendor wax. I think I was searching Scentsy online or something, and the very first thing I saw was Southbound, which is interesting because I don't get a lot of Southbound wax now. And I kind of got some of that, and then Rose Girls was my like super, super biggest, largest. I got a couple Christmas samplers, and I was hooked. So then that opened that. So there's that. Keto Journey, I kind of already talked about that. I'll just say one of the biggest tips with keto is buying a lot of different seasonings, which thank goodness we already like, really spicy, really flavored, really seasoned foods. Because we do eat a lot of the same things because we just know what works. But most of our meals are a protein and a vegetable. And then I do drink protein drinks. I eat a lot of fibrous things, a lot of fibrous vegetables, and a lot of berries, eggs, cheese, things like that. Sorry, we're already it's getting close, and I could definitely do another video about keto if you wanted me to. This next one said, play this game. Give me 2 truths and 1 lie. So I guess I'll say them. I kind of wrote things down because I'm not good at these kinds. I am not an out-of-the-box thinker. I want you guys to know I'm a very much an in-the-box, like list maker, list checker offer person. So I'm not good at these things. But I'll say these 3 things, and then you guys can guess down below which one's the lie. I like to wear shoes. I do my skincare routine daily. I like cool weather. Those are 3 comments. You can tell me which one you think is the lie. Next one is, how did you find out your daughter had autism? It's kind of interesting. And the other sub parts to this were, what has worked for her? And do you think it's harder on the parent or the child? That is another long, complex question. So Jocelyn is my oldest daughter. She's 10. She has autism. She also has ADHD, sensory disorder. Um, yeah, lots of sensory issues. But so when she was born, she seemed like a completely normal baby. She was our first child, so I guess that would make it a little bit harder as to what to spot and look for. And we went to all of her well child checks. She hit all of her milestones normally, like she crawled normally, sat normally, ate normally. She did get a lot of ear infections, but that was normal. A lot of non-autistic children get those also. I'm trying to think. But her speech never really came in. She was quite loud. She did a lot of repetitive sounds like ba 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 ba, mama mama. And even as a young, like I'm saying 6 months, 8 months, a year old, she made great eye contact. She loved being around people. She loved being held. She had extreme energy. And I would tell her pediatrician this, and he was just like, yeah, I know it's your first kid. Like, kids have a lot of energy. And I knew I was a high energy kid also. So I was just like, okay. But I'm telling you, like, scaling the walls energy. Like, we couldn't even hang stuff on our walls. She would get them and tear them apart. We couldn't have picture frames up. I've said this before, but like we couldn't have lamps. She would take lamps apart, shred the lampshades, break the light bulbs, eat the light bulbs. She stopped like solidly napping at when I say solidly napping, I mean like a daily nap at like 8 months, 6 months, like around there. She would still sometimes take naps, but by the time my second was born, like she was definitely not taking naps, so we never had like a full-on nap time. So one of the things I would do, like when I worked night shift, is I would barricade all of us in a room, and I would lay up against the door on the floor and sleep while all of the kids were in a room, like with snacks and a movie on, and I would try to sleep, or I'd lay on the couch and put them behind my legs. Oh gosh, all the things I did. This is not healthy, you guys. But it was really the speech. So that my pediatrician kind of told me like I was over exaggerating. But one of the very last straws was I brought her to my coworker. Her and I had babies the same day. Brought her to her child's birthday party. And the kids at this age, this was like 18 months old to 2 years, somewhere around there, were playing Duck, Duck, Goose. And Jossie had zero interest in that. She was literally in my friend's garden pulling plants up and eating the dirt. So I was like, okay, that's it. Like, I'm done with them telling me I'm over exaggerating. I never have cared that my child was different. I am just like, I'm also someone that's like, hi, my child's different. What do we do to help her? Like, that's me. Give me all the tools I can to help her be her best. Let's call it whatever it is. I'll put a banner in the front of my house that says my child has autism. I do not care. What do I do to help her? What are the tools? You guys, it's been a lot. So, of course, with my history, like with my childhood, when I first found out she had autism, like, yes, all those things that I just said, but also I was like, gosh, what did I do? Was it the drugs I did when I was younger? Was it this? Was it that? If you're going through that right now, like, this is how our children were given to us. Jossie doesn't have any type of, brain malformation. She doesn't have any, like retardation. None of that. She was just given to us this way. So I will say it's a little bit easier in some ways now. I think the toddler phase of autism, at least for us, because autism looks very different in every single human being, was so hard to survive, you guys. So hard to survive. The amount of, gosh, I can make a whole video about this also. Gosh, it was so hard. I'm thinking of all these things that we went through, helping her, and it would take hours for me to talk about. So maybe that could be another video also. What has worked for her is us allowing her space with her sensory needs. Jossie, a lot of Jossie's sensory needs are sensory. She wants the sensory input. She wants the deep stimulation of the clapping and the pounding, and she often, like, some loud sounds she really likes, others she really doesn't. And all of being around people, she loves being around people, but it's all very awkward in the cutest, most beautiful way. She lives in a different world, but in a very happy world for the most part. I think what has worked for her is to like, I'm honest, like whenever we're around people, I don't just like sit and watch and wait for someone to treat her a weird way and then get defensive. I start by saying, Jossie has autism and these are the things that are hard for her. These are the things that are not. So like if we're at a park and this happens, she might scream bloody murder or she might this or she might that. So I'm very open about it. I do try to make some of our life adaptable for her needs, but others I don't. We're very strict about pleases, thank yous, not lying, treating others well, like all these types of things. And I think that has really infused into her and helped her a lot. But really giving her space to be her. Like I said, we try not to adapt the world too much around her, but also she is a different human being. And so I do try to, I don't know what the best way to put this. I try to at least watch the path she's about to walk and make sure nothing is going to terrify her, but we don't let it be easy either. Does that make sense? And almost everything she has come up against, she has defeated. I'm so proud of her. So, I'm also so proud of Rosalind, who is the daughter right beneath her. She's 8. Kind of mentally and dynamically, she's the oldest child of our family. Thank goodness for Rosalind, because she was the middle child. She wasn't the twins, and she wasn't Jocelyn as a baby. And so she kind of had to be this buffer in the middle, and she was the best baby. She was the sweetest sibling. She now is my hardest child for me, for many reasons, but she also is like the child that I'm just the most proud of too. Part of why she's the hardest child for me is she is so herself, which I'm also so happy about. She causes so much friction in being independent, but she also is just such a great human. I could talk about that forever. I'm just so proud of her. So anyway, and then there's the twins, who I've spoken about this before, but the twins were conceived on birth control. And then shortly after that, I got a tubal ligation, so that wouldn't happen again, thank goodness. But I got my boy in my twins, and I'm so happy for my little Andre Donovan and my Brianna Lily. When I got pregnant with them, it was 9 months of sheer terror, fear, and not wanting them. And then there's so much else that goes into that. When I gave birth to them, I pushed both of them out and they were put on my chest. Like, when my other babies came out, like, I knew love, like, so much. But, like, when the twins came out and were put on my chest, I had never known a love like that, ever. And they made me see a bigger picture of love as to how to love my other children. They are, like, love impersonated. They're very different humans. I could talk about that forever also. But Brianna is like my heart. Andre is too. He's my boy. But Brianna is just like my heart and soul. So I could talk about that forever too. Anyways, I could talk about all this forever because there's so much to each thing. I hope that answered that question. I don't know. Anyways, when Jossie was 3.5, she finally got her autism diagnosis at the Primary Children's Hospital out here. Her hyperactivity diagnosis. We've gone through different medications, different things to try to help her with that. I could also talk about that later. Favorite wax warmers. I love candle warmer, like the hot plate warmers. Those are probably my favorite. As far as Walmart warmers, let me see if I can twist this and show you. This style, do you see right there? That one gets really hot. I have one of those in my room and one right here, and those throw really well because they get so hot. And then there's a few that I got off candlewarmers.com. My friend Desi gave me the information, the in on this. the halogen bulb warmers. They're pretty good. I don't feel like they're much different than the hot plate warmers. So I would basically say like the Candle Warmers brand has the best warmers, and they're not super expensive. Whether you like halogen or whether you like just plain hot plate, like element type warmers, I think those are the best. We just hit an hour. Scentsy warmers are beautiful. I have one in my kitchen. They're gorgeous, especially like the light ones. But they don't get very hot. They don't throw very well for me, so I don't have very many because of that, but they are gorgeous. I guess, oh, did I not write it down? Oh, I swear there was a question on my thing that was, why don't you buy Scentsy wax? It's not that I don't. If you go down my Instagram, you will see that intermittently I did. I used to sell Scentsy. I don't very often anymore for a few reasons. It's expensive per ounce. It's quite expensive. Some of their blends are gorgeous. There's some Scentsy that I absolutely love, but I like the more customizable blending of vendor wax, the requests, the more unique blends. I like I don't know. It's not just clamshells. I love chopping the loaves. I love the whole involvement in the vendor wax situation. I feel like I have more say in what I get in vendor wax. And I don't know. Scentsy used to be like crazy throwers for me. What I've gotten recently hasn't been. It doesn't excite me like vendor wax does. I guess as a whole is the answer. Yeah. But there are a few, especially their Christmas scents, that I really, really enjoy. I love Cranberry Garland. Is that one? Or is it Christmas Garland? I love Very Merry I love they have great cranberry scents. Let's just be honest. They have some great holiday scents in general. I'm trying to think. But yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't excite me. I like knowing about separate oils and what's in things. Yeah, I hope that's an answer. Anyways, I know I kind of went off on some tangents, and this is an hour long, and some of these things I didn't answer in full, but it's because, like, I could talk about my kids, my childhood, autism, keto, health for forever. Because it's all, there's lots of like different factors that go into so many different things. But I hope if you wanted to get to know me better, this helped you get to know me better. If you have more questions, I guess put them down below. I'm sorry, I'm not always the best at responding to comments. I do read them. I'm also one of those people that I love interacting with everybody and I love answering, but I get burned out. Like I get to a point where like all these notifications keep coming on my phone and I'm like, I'm going to have a mental breakdown. I can't do this. So as much as I love social media and I love like doing my videos and answering questions and being friends with so many of you, it's not answering your question is not personal to any of you. It's literally my brain being like, I'm shutting down now, no more. So sorry if that's the case, but I do read them. So thank you so much. Thank you for your support. I will be doing, more of these, maybe a couple times a year or something like that. And if I have enough people that want me to do a video on the, autism with Jossie, or keto or working out or whatever, let me know. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Bye.